Hello, peeps. First of all, notice anything different? I got glasses. I think they're so cute, and I don't care if I'm like too enthusiastic over them. I mean, obviously, no one wants to be blind. My vision is perfect without them. Well, not perfect, but like, my vision is fine. Oh, ignore the incense. For some reason, it wants to flow directly in the direction of the camera. But my eyes just get a little bit stressed out. So, oh my goodness, hold on. So they need a little bit of help, and that's what these glasses are for. So like, I'm very excited because I think they're very cute, and not gonna lie, I know this is kind of like cliche or whatever, but I always wanted glasses when I was a kid. I know, I'm one of those. I don't know, I liked the way they looked on me, and I thought they were cute, and now I actually get them. And even though that means that, like, my eyes clearly need a little bit of help, I'm seeing it in a positive way because I can, okay? Anyways, first of all, I want to say I am very sorry for not consistently uploading. Listen, okay? I told you I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it because life gets busy, and that's exactly what happened. I posted my first video, and then it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks before I started recording my other one. And I had it recorded, and I was going to edit it, but like, I was super busy in like different areas of my life, and I got sick on top of that. So any downtime that I got, I was kind of just like focusing on like doing what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to edit because that itself is work to me, like sitting there trying to edit an hour. Cuz let me tell you, the video I recorded, it was an hour and 20 minutes. It took me hours alone to even edit it, and once I had edited it, that sounds so funny to me. I don't know why. Once I had gone through and polished everything up, it didn't want to upload. Like, I use CapCut, right? And when I went to like export it, it refused to. So I sat there, recorded that hour and a half long video, edited it down to like an hour long, and I wasn't even able to upload it. So I'm recording an entirely new one, and that's why this is 3 weeks late. So I saw it, but I don't really have like a big fan base or whatever. I think maybe like 5 people watch these videos at most for now. Okay, I'm gonna get somewhere, trust, watch. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal anyways, but I just wanted to apologize regardless. So yes, when I'm recording this right now, it is Valentine's Day. Ignore how messy my bed is, okay? I don't really care, to be honest, because I'm a teenage girl, and who cares, right? This is about talking about shit. Also, peep the amazing art that my friend Lev made. I love it so much. She signed it for me and everything. I love her. But yeah, today's Valentine's Day. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling sexy and sweet and all things good. Single. So I don't have anyone to spend Valentine's Day with except for myself, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Which brings me to the topic of discussion today, which is self-love. What better thing to talk about on Valentine's Day than self-love? So the video I had uploaded, or that I had recorded, originally it was about change and self-betterment and like how to better yourself. But given the fact that I already talked about it and like went through and spent hours of editing, I honestly don't want to talk about it again. I might later, but like, I'm just gonna focus on self-love for this one. But I'm gonna add some aspects from that video in this, and kind of just talk about like bettering yourself, because I feel like self-love and bettering yourself obviously comes hand in hand. So yeah, lots of different little topics of discussion in this major topic, so I hope you enjoy. Also, upon editing, I don't know why the word editing, editing, I don't know why that word is like such a struggle for me to get out, but anyways, upon going through my old videos, rest in peace, I realized I have very repetitive vocabulary. I say, you know what I mean, you know, so like, I say those things a lot, so if I have repetitive language and it's annoying, I apologize for that, but I don't really care anyways, because you can either watch my video and enjoy it or not. With love. You hear that? Confirmation. Another thing I would like to say before I even start this video out is I'm a very spiritual person. And if that's not your vibe, it's not your thing, I totally get it. It doesn't have to be. But I will be mentioning it a lot because it is a lot of what has helped me love myself, and kind of guided me through the whole process. Because with something that I didn't understand when it came to spirituality before I got into it is it's a lot of balancing the dark and the light. Like, things about yourself that you don't like and things about yourself that you do like. Things about life that you don't like, things about life that you do like, you know, like it's a duality, it's a balance, which is another topic that I'm going to be bringing up in a lot of my podcasts, TED Talks, whatever the fuck you want to call them, yap sessions. This incense just does not want to stop. Hold on. You know what? Actually, you can deal with it. You're not even looking anyways. You're just listening. I just want to say, if you're not a spiritual person, yeah, just take this how you will, I guess. What really kickstarted my self-love journey was this huge catalytic moment that was so terrible when it first happened and felt like the end of life as it existed for me. But it helped me blossom into a version of myself that I am so proud of and so grateful to have become. And that was last year in the summer, 2025. I'm going to say June. Yeah. It was when I broke up with my long-term boyfriend of 1 year. I know, some people will hear that and think 1 year, like, that's not a lot of time, but I was a junior. I mean, I'm a senior now, not that much of a difference, but a big difference to me. And before that, I had only had, like, I'm not the type of person to date a lot of people. I'm very selective when it comes to the people I allow to get that close to me. I always have been, even when I didn't really have respect for myself. I had one boyfriend in person before him, and that only lasted 4 months, and that was in my sophomore year. I had not been on a lot of dates, not a lot of casual dating. Like, 1 year being with someone, that was a big thing for me, okay? I had revolved a lot of my identity around that relationship, you know what I mean? Like, repetitive vocabulary, there she goes. But I kind of integrated myself into his friend group, and you know how high school is. I mean, that's just how things work. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, but I'm just trying to put it into perspective how deeply integrated this whole entire relationship was in my identity and in how I saw myself and where I placed myself in society. It's just a whole lot of connected things. So, during the summer, especially since I wasn't in school, like, there wasn't much that I could identify myself with, like academics or my social group, you know what I mean? When I had broken up with him in June, it was just such a huge turning point in my life, and I really just had to sit with myself, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a boyfriend, I barely had any friends left, I didn't have academics to focus on because it was the summer, so it was really this, like, kind of excruciating period in my life to where I had spent months just figuring myself out, figuring out where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be, like, kind of just processing everything that had happened in my life too that led me up to that point. And not only grieving the person that I thought I was and the person that I used to be and the life that I used to have, but also trying to figure out what I wanted to do with what I had and where I wanted to go next. Like it was this crossroads that I had entered, this really pivotal moment in my life. And it didn't feel good when I was going through this process of figuring out who I wanted to be and kind of, everyone goes through that stage after a breakup to where they start to become more confident and they start to figure themselves out again, and they start to be like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch, I don't need no man. Like, every girl goes through that stage after a breakup. It's just natural. And so when I was going through this stage, I also was going through it with the awareness that a lot of people that were perceiving me from the life that I had once lived did not like me. I'm just gonna be completely honest and upfront and blatant. And like I said, I'm not bringing this up to rehash anything or, I've moved past it. I'm in a completely different era of my life and I've become a completely different person. There's no harsh intentions or bad blood on my side when it comes to these things, but I'm just bringing it up in the sense that it played such an important role in how I started to love myself. And that's what this whole entire video is about. When you think about the fact that you have a teenage girl who is very insecure, I hated myself. I'm going to be completely honest. Junior year, I tried so badly to figure out who I was, kind of assert myself in a way. I was a very angry person junior year, and I'm not proud of who I was necessarily. I mean, I am proud because I know that I was quite literally just working with what I had, and I was just a teenage girl who was going through so much during that time. I was really coming from a place of trying to prove myself rather than doing what I actually wanted to do, being who I actually wanted to be. I was trying to fit myself into this box of what I thought was expected of me. Especially because my presence online was so profound. I've deleted TikTok. It's been a few weeks. I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been at least a couple of weeks since I deleted it. And back then, I was on it 24/7, doom scrolling, I was very chronically online, and not in a good way, which I don't necessarily think any online chronicness, I don't know. I don't think being chronically online is good in general, but it has been sort of romanticized because it is expected to have an online presence in this day and age that we're in, especially when you're a teenager. So much of your life revolves around social media, and clearly here I am speaking to you on social media, so I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, but I used to be super, super chronically online, and there were all these different niches and these aesthetics and these ways of behaving and thinking and acting and perceiving things that I had adopted from sources outside of myself, mainly from TikTok. I thought I was figuring myself out when really I was just trying to find myself through things outside of me. And that's not finding yourself. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it, but really what I realized was finding myself meant going inward and digging really, really deep into my experiences and who I am as a person and my ideas and my thoughts and my dreams and all these different things that are just internally within me, instead of looking outside for validation. I was constantly posting yap videos, talking about different topics. That most definitely helped me to put my voice out there and to express myself and to practice speaking my truth. But at the time, my truth was sourced entirely off of validation. I wanted people to tell me I was right. I wanted people to share the same opinion as me. I wanted people to praise me for my opinion. Not because I thought that I was proud of my opinion necessarily, but because I loved the fact that other people validated me for it. And the same thing went with my appearance and like how I acted and the music I listened to. So many different aspects, just my identity as a whole was entirely sourced off of validation from other people. I don't blame myself for that. I'm not saying that it's not good to do, but I'm not calling myself a bad person for doing that, because it's really hard not to. With growing up, and becoming a teenager right when, social media started to really take off, and in the day and age that we live in, where so many people are insecure, so many teenagers especially, because, when you're a teenager, you're gonna be insecure. That's just a part of adolescence, unfortunately. But especially with social media, it's so heightened, because not only are you worried about what people are thinking about you or how people are perceiving you in person, but now you're thinking, what are people saying about me online? What if people are taking pictures of me or taking videos of me? Or what if so many what ifs and anxieties about the way that people view you. It's so integrated into our culture as Gen Zers, as teenagers, whatever you want to say, that it's hard not to source your identity off of outside validation. It kind of just becomes expected because that's what everybody else is doing. Once you kind of pull away and remove yourself from that, not only does that feel wrong in a sense because you're not used to it, which is one of the topics I brought up in my video about change, is the fact that change most of the time does not feel good. So like when you change that and you start to source from inside, it's like, am I doing the right thing here? Like, is this okay? And you gotta like retrain your brain into validating yourself and telling yourself that it is okay, instead of asking other people or looking at the way that people respond to how you dress or what you say or how you act or what you think. You know what I mean? Especially because once you stop getting that validation, that makes you think that you're doing something wrong. I dress and act and do whatever the fuck I want nowadays. I really don't care what people think of me. And while it is really nice and so amazing and uplifting when I see or hear, I don't know, just when people show me that they like what I'm doing, and when people express appreciation and, see my vision in a sense, because it's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, I'm so glad that someone gets what I was trying to do. And, instead of people judging you, because 99% of the time when you are individually yourself and you stick out from the majority of people, not saying this and I'm so different, you know what I mean? But genuinely, when you are individually yourself and you don't care about the rules of society that everyone is expecting each other to follow, people look at you weird. They treat you weird. They kind of get taken aback, like taken off guard when you don't show up in the way that they're expecting you to. And that either causes people to just not respond to you at all because it's like they just look at you weird, or they respond negatively and make fun of you, you know what I mean? Not only was it hard dealing with the fact that I knew that people were saying negative things about me, I knew that people were perceiving me in a negative way because of who I used to be in the past and because of the life that I used to live, but people were also, looking at who I was becoming and perceiving that in a negative way as well, and having their own opinions about that. And the biggest part of self-love is really detaching from needing other people to tell you that what you're doing is okay. A big part of self-love is not caring if people are saying negative things about you, not caring if people are saying anything about you, really. It doesn't matter what it is. You're just doing it because you want to and because it feels right and that's what you want to do. And so, like, it was a very kind of rocky experience in the sense that I didn't know. When I had that spiritual awakening over the summer where I started tapping into my intuition and my spirituality, because I am psychic, I will say it. I don't care if you believe me or not. I don't care if you believe in that or not. That is my truth, and I will express it, and you can do with that information as you will. When I started tapping into that, and when I started, really accepting myself for who I was, all of a sudden, all of this stuff from the past was being brought up. All of these feelings about myself, all of these experiences that made me feel a certain way kept coming up in my consciousness and physically in my body, like over the summer, but especially into the first semester of senior year. I was crying non-stop. Non-stop. My birthday, I cried all day. And while I was going through experiences that, caused me to feel that way, that was one of the reasons. It was also because I was releasing so much of the stress and weight that I had put on my own shoulders throughout the years. Because as a neurodivergent person, but especially as someone who has ADHD, growing up being neurodivergent especially, I ran across the same issue over and over again when it came to feeling like I needed to water myself down in order to feel accepted into society. Like the way I would act, the way I would dress, the things that I would think and say. People just generally didn't understand me, and it almost felt like I was too much for people in a sense. I've always been this kind of lively, bubbly person, but when that gets to be too much for people, that's when it becomes a problem. And so much of my life was kind of just revolved around just doing what people expected of me. I was a big people pleaser. I wanted to be myself, and I did act like myself, but not to the fullest extent. There have been so many people that I've been throughout my life, throughout my 17 years of living. This core being that is me, this essence deep down inside me. And I've always been able to come back to that in some sort of way. But truthfully, the majority of my life has been just performing for other people and masking and pretending to be someone I'm not. People made me feel as if, who I was either wasn't enough or was too much or too this or too that, just kind of pulling me in so many different directions. And I had so many different opinions about me, whether it be from my family members or my friends or my peers or my teachers, whoever it was, that I lost myself for the majority of my life. And I was trying so hard to find myself for the majority of my teenage years especially, because I knew that I had lost myself and I knew that something wasn't right within me. But the only issue with that was the fact that every time I would try to find myself, it would be finding myself through things outside of me instead of what was inside of me. And that's why, I've completely changed in like a year, is because I was releasing so many of those limiting beliefs that held me back. I was really just like almost, it's like I died. It's like I died as a person and I was reborn. And to an outsider's perspective, I don't really know how people perceive me necessarily, but to an outsider's perspective, I imagine that not much has changed, Maybe my appearance has changed. I've lost some weight since junior year. Obviously, I have glasses. I don't have my purple hair anymore. I'm still grieving that. I want her back so bad. So, yeah, fuck, what was I saying? The ADHD. Oh my gosh. Damn it. Hold on. I gotta like think now. So yeah, not only was over the summer like this massive grieving process of really just letting go and processing and feeling the emotions of all these different versions of myself that were all a part of one version of me. Like, it's very hard to explain. I was grieving that, and I was going through the process of feeling that, and also trying to figure out who exactly I was. Who the fuck am I? What do I even want to do with my life? Like, where am I even going? Like, I was so lost. But I knew that I was in the right place, not only through the help of spirituality, but also the fact that I knew that it was better than where I was before. I knew that I was trying. I knew that I was wanting to better myself. I knew that I was trying to take the right steps towards it. And that really kept me going. As much as it felt like shit, you know, all the days I cried, all the days I felt like I wasn't enough, all the days that I felt like, well, maybe I should go back to worrying about what people think about me. Maybe I did make the wrong choice. Maybe I am a shitty person. Maybe I am horrible like these people are saying that I am. And it took a lot of retraining my brain and retraining the way I reacted to criticism. And it's hard. Like I said, it's not easy. You know, reprogramming your brain, quite literally, like, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. I quite literally reprogrammed the way that I thought, the way that I perceived things. But once you finally get to that point to where you don't have to keep reprogramming yourself, to where you don't have to keep consciously putting in the effort to love yourself, to accept yourself, to not care about what people think, you look back and you're like, wait a minute. Oh my god, like, I'm a completely different person. I'm so happy. I'm living such a great life. Maybe it's not exactly where I want to be, but that'd be a pretty boring life if you just got everything you wanted within the blink of an eye and then you never needed anything else in your life. Like, that sounds like bliss. That sounds like utter bliss to some people. But if you think about it, it's not. Because then what do you have to look forward to? Living the same exact life every single day with nothing changing? Once you get past, like, the conscious reprogramming and you look back, it's like, wow, I did all of that by myself, in my own head. I did all of that. And not only do you become so proud of yourself, which also, like, contributes to the whole self-love thing, but you really begin to finally be able to take a breath. You're like, I can breathe finally. I have completely let go of all of those things that were holding me back. I have made it past all of these different challenges and all of these different really, really hard points in my life. And somehow I have made it out of those things better than I ever was before I even went through those experiences. It's a really, really freeing and liberating and just such a fresh and wonderful feeling. And all of the hard work, all of the suffering, all of the effort and pain that you go through trying to make it happen is 100% worth it. Only thing is, you have to keep resisting, because a lot of people hear about self-help, a lot of people hear about self-love, and they think that it's one and done. No, you have to continuously put in the work. And even once you've reached that point to where you're like, wow, I can finally breathe, even after that, you're going to have things resurface. You're going to have old limiting beliefs come back up. You're going to have moments where you're insecure. You know, life is a roller coaster. Time is not linear. You're going to have certain points to where you're going to be rethinking. That's just how life works. But if you perpetually keep yourself in a state of suffering by thinking that, well, nothing is ever going to get better because life just sucks and that's just the way it works, you're never going to get better. You know what I mean? Like, so many people have this mentality of just giving up on themselves entirely because consistent work is too much to be asked of them, because things don't happen exactly the way that they want them to, exactly in the timing that they want it to. And then they think that that means that they should give up, and that their hard work and their effort got them nowhere. And that's one thing that spirituality really helped me with, is because I had faith. I had trust in something that was bigger than me. I had this unwavering faith, not in God or Jesus or my angel team or anything outside of me necessarily, but mainly in myself. Yes, I knew that I was protected, and I knew that there was a divine plan written out for me before I could even conjure up a plan for myself, before I even understood where the fuck I was going. I knew that I was going to be okay. But most importantly, I knew that I had my own back. I had trust that everything that I was doing for a reason. I had trust that everything that I had dreams and hopes about was going to work out, because I would make it there. Because if I went through all of that shit in the past, if I got through all of those experiences and got to the place I am now, what else? Like, what is another little challenge for me to go through? I got through that. I can get through this. That's like what I've been saying to myself so many times this year, especially. Like, it's February, and already I've had so many little minor inconveniences and challenges throughout my life, because that's what's going to happen. You know, when you get to a certain point to where you've elevated and to where you love yourself, things are going to try to throw you off track. Things are going to try to test you, whether it be people, you know, trying to knock down your confidence and try to make you think that you're not worthy of everything that you have built for yourself, or whether it be your own mind trying to convince you that you don't deserve everything that you've built for yourself. You know, so many things are going to happen to try and throw you off track, and you just need to keep pushing through all of it with the idea in mind that I got this. I'm fine. That's a part of self-love, is believing in yourself and believing in your own capability to get out of shit better than before. Another thing is, sometimes you have to be delusional. Even if your brain is telling you one thing, sometimes you're literally gonna have to convince yourself otherwise. Especially when it came to who I was physically, my body, my face, the way I looked. I went through a lot of challenges when it came to my self-esteem. Not just who I was as a person and personality-wise, but how I physically looked. I'm not conventionally attractive. I know this. I don't have big lips. I don't have a tiny nose. I have an oval face. You know, everyone wants a heart-shaped face and full lips and this tiny button nose that's curved. There's so many different standards for women especially that make us feel like we are not enough, that make us feel like we are not beautiful. Looking back on the times where I genuinely didn't like the way that I looked, it was because I was constantly comparing myself to other people. It was because, like I said, I was sourcing outside of myself for that validation. And, you know, when you realize that the reason why you hate yourself isn't because you actually hate yourself, it's just because society wants you to hate yourself, and it's because society has programmed us all to try and grasp at this idea of a perfect human being that none of us can be, really. Like, there is no such thing as a perfect human being, whether it be internally or externally. That is the whole entire point of being a human being, is we are flawed. We are not perfect. That is so beautiful. The fact that we are all so imperfect makes us perfect. You know, there's plastic surgery and there's different modifications that you can do to yourself. There's so many different ways to customize your character. And I'm not necessarily saying any of those things are bad, but we have gotten so used to, you know, quick fixes for everything, especially when it comes to AI, you know, that being something that has flourished so much within the past few years, especially. Back in 8th grade, AI was barely a thing. Like, it just started to kind of kick off in society as a normal thing. Like, there was C.AI, there was Snapchat AI, things like that, but it wasn't really a thing. Now, there's AI in everything. There are AI commercials. My school has fucking AI art for, like, the announcements and shit. Like, it is such a big part of our society now. And everything in America especially, I don't necessarily know how it is for other countries, but I feel like in society as a whole, we have gotten so used to quick fixes for everything. You know, back then you used to send a fucking letter in the mail and you would have to wait a week or two to get a response back. Now you can text someone and they can respond immediately if they want to. Like, everything has been so accustomed to just immediate fixes to everything. And I feel like that's why so many people aren't willing to put in the work to really reframe their mind and change their perspective. Because as much as people don't like to hear it, and as much as I didn't like to hear it back when I was in this mindset, your reality can be changed based off of how you perceive things. Your life, your emotional well-being, your mental health, all of it can change for the better or for the worse simply based off of how you are perceiving things. And I know it sounds so simple, and I know it sounds so delusional, but it's true. And I feel like what a lot of people don't realize is your mental health and your spiritual health, if you are spiritual, and your physical health are all intertwined. You know, if you're thinking all these negative thoughts about yourself, if you're constantly putting yourself down, especially speaking things, the way you speak about things really has an effect on the way you're perceiving things. It starts to affect how you look physically. Like, the more I would constantly talk about how much I hated myself and how much I thought I was ugly and how much I thought I was worthless, the more I started to look like literally dead. The more my body started to feel like shit, the more my health declined. I'm not sure how valid this is, but I've seen actual studies to where people speak kind things to plants. They speak kind things to natural organisms, and they flourish, or they do good. They do okay. And then they speak negative things to the same exact thing, and it literally rots away. It deteriorates. And like I said, I'm not sure the validity of all these things, but I've seen several different experiments where this has been done. And it's like, we are natural organisms ourselves. How do you think the way we speak to ourselves and the way we perceive things about ourselves affects us? You know what I mean? Like, so many of my friends especially will talk so down on themselves and talk about their lives and who they are as people and the way they look. And I'm like, stop doing that. Because not only is that not true, but you're literally just reinforcing it. If you think about the way that we grow up as children, you know, when children are in environments that are abusive, that are unhealthy, verbally abusive, physically abusive, whatever it may be, that affects them for the rest of their lives. And that really shapes how they perceive themselves and who they are as a whole. How do you think the way you speak to yourself changes that? You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with wanting to customize the way that you look, like plastic surgery or whatever it may be. But I think it's such a normalized and dangerous thing in the sense that a lot of people think that's just going to fix everything. That, oh, if I get lip filler, if I take a few ribs out to make my waist slimmer, if I fill in my hip dips, if I get a BBL, then I'll love myself, then I'll accept myself. And I think that's really dangerous because you're never going to love yourself unless if you force yourself to. You know what I mean? Like, even when I was so insecure, I just kept speaking kindly to myself and I kept gaslighting myself into thinking that I was pretty and that I loved myself. And eventually it became true. And now that I look back and I've snapped myself out of that self-sabotaging reality, now that I look back, I realized, yeah, so, like, I was pretty this whole entire time. I have always been beautiful. I have always been individually, uniquely myself in such a beautiful way. I just didn't think so. And that made me look miserable. Like, I had bags under my eyes. I was constantly frowning. My eyes looked dead. It wasn't because I was ugly. It's because I was miserable. And maybe some people could say, oh, well, you know, how do you know if you're pretty or not if you've just gaslit yourself into thinking it? Because I know I'm pretty. Because I perceive that I'm pretty. And the whole issue is so many people source their sense of confidence outside of themselves. So many people rely on other people to tell them that they're attractive, to tell them that what they're doing is okay. When you really detach from that and detach from the need to outsource outside of you, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And maybe, I know when I heard things like this from people, maybe some people have this same perspective, this same idea to where they're thinking, well, why would I want that? Why would I want to delusionally think that I'm attractive when I'm not? Because, you know, then that's like, it feels like you're almost setting yourself up for failure. It's really not. Because so many people believe that they have to be trapped in this, you know, this mentality of thinking that attractiveness is not subjective. It is. There are billions of people on this planet Earth. And we are all so individually unique inside and out. I guarantee you there is at least one person, most likely several hundreds, whatever it may be, that would find you attractive just as you are. And when you really detach from the need to find that person, to find those people, and realize that all you have to do is love yourself and then you'll be fine, it's so simple and it's so freeing. Because why would I give a fuck what anybody thinks about me? I will dress the way I want. I will do the makeup that I want. I will do my hair the way I want. Because I want to do it. Not because it makes me happy. Not because I want other people to validate me. Because that really in turn just makes you more miserable. Because then once you don't have that validation, you're empty. All it does is hollow you out and make you shallow and make you surface level if you are constantly looking for other people to validate your existence. It is truly the most beautiful thing in life to be able to see yourself in a way that is full of adoration and admiration and acceptance. AAA, AAA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know why I said that. Just ignore that. But yeah. Girl, if you have to delulu yourself into thinking that you're attractive, just do it. And I truly believe that if everybody had the same self-concept that I do, and that I'm sure many other people do, like, I know there's lots of people out there who have this idea about themselves because, you know, so many people that are on, like, YouTube and TikTok, like, lots of these spiritual, what is it? Guiders? Yeah. Lots of these spiritual people who give guidance, tarot readers, you know, so many people who have awakened spiritually and who have helped me to get to this point that I'm at, who have, you know, given me advice and given the collective advice, given their viewers advice about how to get to this point. So I know there are so many other people out there who have this self-concept, and they are such beautiful people. I don't know if any of you know Freya or Jadina. If you guys see this, I love you so much. I know they won't. Maybe they will. We'll see. But if you ever see this, you truly are two of the most beautiful people I have ever seen in my entire life, inside and out. And I wouldn't have been able to, build this self-concept without you, And I want to be that type of person for other people. I want to be the type of person to show you that it doesn't matter what other people think about you. It doesn't matter how other people perceive you. All that matters is how you perceive yourself, because that is where true happiness comes from. And until you experience it yourself, until you feel that happiness yourself, it looks so dull and so boring and so mundane and unfulfilling. And that's why most people don't want to do the work to get to that point. That's why most people don't want to accept the fact that that is the truth. Is because it looks boring from an outside perspective, because we are programmed into believing that getting validation from outside sources is just the way that life works and is just what we are expected to do. So, I just really wish more people would attempt to try to get to the point that I have gotten to, and that I know a lot of other people have. And I know it's hard, and I'm not saying that you're bad or that, these people should be shamed for where they're at, because I used to be in the exact same position. I 100% get it through and through, but I just wish and I hope that people would go down the same kind of journey that I have, because if the whole entire world had this perspective on life and had this perspective on themselves, we would be so much kinder to each other. Not only would we cultivate this society that is so beautiful and loving and welcoming and accepting, but it would just, I don't know, I feel like it would be paradise, you know what I mean? And a lot of it, like I said, has to do with self-acceptance. Some days you're going to be feeling a little crusty. Some days you're going to be feeling a little greasy and icky. And some days you're not going to be feeling like your top 10. That's just the way life works, Especially as a woman, we go through so many hormonal shifts and waves throughout the month. There are going to be certain points in your cycle to where you're going to be bloated, or when you're going to have hormonal acne, or when you're going to be more irritable or more greasy or more puffy. And that's unfortunately just a part of being a woman. But instead of, seeing that as a negative thing and reiterating self-hatred by being like, ugh, I feel so bloated and disgusting and da-da-da-da-da. Yes, it's okay to sit with those feelings and be like, yeah, I feel a little bit gross right now. Yeah, my confidence isn't the best right now. Don't make that a permanent thing. Accept the fact that it's just because we are human and we are flawed and we have hormones and we go through changes, especially with aging too, and being a teenager especially. We're going to have acne, we're going to have greasy skin, we're going to be stinky a little bit sometimes, that's just a part of being human. Instead of making it a constant thing to worry about, instead of always thinking about, ugh, like, I'm so greasy and I have all these blackheads. Like, girl, if you could see my forehead with a fucking magnifying glass, I have so many blackheads. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. And once you see that as a beautiful part of being a human, and once you see that as just a natural part of existence, as a natural being on planet Earth, it becomes a lot easier to handle and a lot easier to accept. Then you begin to love all the wonderful other human parts of yourself. For the longest time, I struggled with the fact that I did not have an hourglass body like I wanted to. I have hip dips. I don't have very big hips. And I love that. I love the way I look. I think I'm beautiful just the way I am. I don't care if I don't fit society's standards, because, newsflash, society's standards change all the time. Back in the early 2000s, it was considered unattractive to have big thighs and, to have curve to you. You were supposed to be super skinny. And I'm unfortunately seeing that come back around now. But it was the standard to be super duper skinny and to not have hardly any meat on your bones. And then we swung back into, oh, like, you have to be slim, thick, you have to have a fat ass and big thighs and big boobs and a small waist, whatever it may be. Like, society constantly changes the standards of what we are meant to look like. So why would you care? Why would you care if the fact is that attractiveness is subjective, that beauty itself is subjective? I see so many beautiful human beings all the time, every single day. Unfortunately, I don't get the chance to tell every single one of them how beautiful they are. But I do. I see so much beauty in so many people. And I guarantee you that there are so many people that see that beauty in you. But that shouldn't even matter, because all you need to do is see the beauty in yourself. That is really all that matters. Once you understand that that is all that matters, and once you truly feel that that is all that matters, everything changes and everything gets so much better. Then you can start focusing on doing the things that you love in life. Then you can start focusing on your passions and doing things that made you happy when you were a little kid. Getting in touch with your inner child. And really just enjoying life and savoring it for what it is, instead of constantly focusing on your appearance or the way you act or just who you are as a person. Once you accept yourself for all the icky, ugly human parts of yourself, but also recognize that either way you are a beautiful human being through and through, life is like sunshine and rainbows, not gonna lie. And it's never sunshine and rainbows. You're gonna go through struggles. Like I said, that's just the way that life works. But everyone needs to understand that there is a duality with life. There's a duality with being human. There's a duality within your brain, within your body. Literally, the biggest lesson that I learned in 2025 is that there needs to be balance. And I'm still working on that, That is probably a journey that I will forever be on in my life, is finding balance within quite literally every aspect of everything, because you're never going to be completely satisfied. You're never going to be completely, nothing is ever going to be perfect, but you don't have to make it to where nothing is perfect and you're not happy with anything just because everything isn't perfect. And you can redefine the way that you see perfection. You can think things are perfect because they are imperfect. I mean, look at my side profile. Like, my nose has a bump. Okay? I used to hate that. I used to hate that so much. But I love it. I take so many pictures of my side profile now. And I think it is so beautiful. I think the fact that I have a nose that is unique to me, that I don't see on a lot of people. I think the fact that I don't see my face shape on a lot of people, I don't see my body shape on a lot of people, I think that is so beautiful, that because that is what makes me me, and I don't look like everybody else. I low-key ran out of storage. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, once you just accept life for its beautiful duality and complexities, and the fact that not everything is perfect, but also not everything is completely terrible, you start to realize that life feels perfect. Imperfectly perfect. So, yeah. That is my journey when it came to self-love and accepting myself. And yeah, it's pretty personal. It's pretty in-depth. And I'm kind of shocked at the fact that I'm even talking about some of these things on the internet. But I'm the type of person to tell it to you exactly how it is. I don't sugarcoat shit. That used to be who I was, but I'm just gonna tell it to you how it is, whether it's good or bad. Number one, I know and I hope that it will help someone out there, and that it will give someone exactly what they need to hear. Whether it be one person or a few people or hundreds of thousands. I doubt that it's gonna get there, but maybe it will, And I just want to be completely open and honest and be an open book for people, because I know that I'm not, as much as the experience that I've gone through has been pretty unique, I know that a lot of people can relate to it. I know that a lot of people can relate to several different aspects of my life. And I just want to be a guiding light to people out there who are struggling with the same things that I went through, because I know, especially being a teenager, especially working through social media and the society we live in today, it is so hard because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know, you try to listen to all these different people tell you what you should do, but not a lot of people are going to give you the best, most honest advice. And I want to truthfully, with my whole entire chest, swear in my life, tell you that everything I say is out of love and is from a place of wanting to help and wanting to give guidance. You know, anything I bring up from the past is just to show people that I am not afraid to show my humanity. I'm not afraid to show my vulnerability, because I am human and I accept the fact that I'm human, and I think a lot of us should do the same thing. So yeah, let me know what video you want to see next. I have a couple ideas in mind, not sure what I want to go with, but yeah, I hope you like this podcast, this yap session, whatever you want to call it. Happy Valentine's Day to all my single ladies, single men, single non-binaries, whatever you may be. And happy Valentine's Day to all my couples, thruples, quadruples, whatever you may be. I don't care what you identify with. Happy Valentine's Day to the birds and the trees and the grass too, because why not? You know? I love you so, so, so much, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah.